that now. All right, welcome everybody to a celebratory reading for the Nature of Our Times anthology that I think many of us are familiar with from Paloma Press and a lot of other collaborators here that we're going to mention. This is a really, as we all know, a pivotal and important work with a lot of great perspectives, and I'm really, really excited to just be here with a lot of great poets here tonight from the anthology. If you want to sort of just have a good experience, you might go to the top right and you might see a little grid that says view. You can choose speaker view, and that way you can kind of have the person who's reading front and center for you as we go through our poets tonight. So I want to just start by, of course, reminding us about the anthology. The Nature of Our Times, Poems on America's Lands, Waters, Wildlife, and Other Natural Wonders, was originally envisioned as the first U.S. national nature assessment, and now has been sort of transferred to the work of United by Nature, of which Philip Levin, the author of our foreword, is a pivotal part. This anthology gathers 210 voices from arts, ecology, academia, and indigenous communities of North America and gives witness to how nature shapes our lives and how we can shape the future. I want to mention this many, many organizations that have been a part of this. It's a joint effort of Paloma Press, Poets for Science, United by Nature, the Wick Poetry Center at Kent State University, and it is made possible with grant support from Ohio Arts Council, the San Mateo County Office of Arts and Culture and Arts Commission, and the Woodward Foundation. And it serves as a companion to the first national assessment of U.S. lands, waters, and wildlife. I think this is so fascinating and critical to what this is. And I really can't say anything more than to quote Philip Levin from the foreword, pointing out that poetry helps us gain the knowledge that comes from standing still, right? The poetry and the arts deliver a crucial addition to this survey that's not just about data points, but that helps shift what we notice, what we value, and what we are willing to defend. So a very, very powerful anthology. And so let's just dig in. So our readers tonight, in the following order, we'll start with a quick reading from me, Erin L. McCoy. We'll go on to John Dos Passos Coggin, Chad Knuth, Kyle Potvin, Catherine Puma, and Philip Metras. And very excited to have them all here. So we're going to be sharing links also in the chat, thanks to Eileen, throughout the reading. And you'll be able to read, make sure to get the anthology if you don't have it already, and also maybe some books from other people here. So let's kick it off. I'm going to start. My name, again, is Erin L. McCoy. My debut poetry book, Rex, came out. Look at the blurring. You can't really see anything no matter what I hold up. Came out from Noemi Press last month. And my debut novel, Underlake, is out in April. So both of these really connect with themes of nature and conservation. And so that's why I wanted to be a part of this. I'm going to read just quickly two, maybe three poems from the anthology. One from the anthology and one from also from this book, which was inspired by the great auk. The great auk was a flightless seabird driven to extinction in the 1800s and was the first animal where we realized we were causing extinctions. So there's a series of poems in this book about a character called Witch Auk, because one of the last auks was killed having been mistaken for a witch. And this poem from the anthology sort of chronicles the birth of that character. It's called Auk in the Afterlife. The first thing the auk notices about heaven is just how thin it is. One aglow tentacle of a jellyfish stretched between the high cirrus and plankton-dusted space. The amenities are that it feels like flying and that there's no shade. The auk is not impressed. She's never needed air to fly, and she'd like to sleep without the sun's insistence. Oh well. She bides her time laying eggs on the backs of passing birds. She dives for plankton, but the stars are farther than they look. Space is barren, shorn only rarely by mute, mirror-sided whales. She floats for some immeasurable period on the tufts of a great conversion, the sailors of St. Kilda, Christian at long last. Then they forget what they've done, or they die, or the wind changes. The auk who has subsisted on clouds snags a piece of the tastiest and drags it down with her as she descends. It is then in how the fogs wreathe her in some gone gray twist of the light that she transforms. Witch-auk lands in the North Atlantic. She is an invention, the fantasy and its rejection, a monstrosity, slippage, not human and not. The sea is a sheet of glass that breaks to pieces, wounds that suture themselves, working as fast as they can. Thank you. So, a couple of the poems in this book are titled Uncanny Valley because this not human and not concept, I was really interested in the ways that we sort of uh, create, invent categories like human and not human, and then use those to um, dehumanize animals and also other people, and really explore those categorizations. So, this poem is more broadly about various extinctions or the process of de-extinction, which you may have seen in the news, bringing back animals. And it mentions an ibex, which is like a goat in the Pyrenees. Pink millions of passenger pigeons slammed the sun shut again and again for 50,000 years. Above the Ohio River, a solar eclipse for 3 days straight as one flock passed over. Men and boys stood on the banks, Audubon wrote, shooting at the pilgrims. Who wound down the paved streets, candle-guided in the noon dim? Who believed the devil flew above its sky-wide skeins pinned with ruby eyes? 3 days. They claimed they could not take it, claimed some things were not made for this world. Cast into shade, the city looked different, like a place where bullets shot just disappeared. The last Peranian ibex, Celia, was tracked by radio collar and found at last crushed beneath a fallen trunk. Gently curved horns. After 3 years, 57 implantations, and 7 pregnancies, her clone was sliced from a host goat's belly. She couldn't breathe. The theory of relativity states that a life 10 minutes long feels as long as any. The woolly mammoth, the great auk, the heath hen, the passenger pigeon are all candidates for de-extinction. Blood down a vein, now open for patent. If the meal were the whole weight of milk, the udder and the ever-soft calf's tongue, but the meal is a flourish of pigeons cut out of the sky like a bleeding dawn. If the meal were the heft of whole milk, it could coat your stomach. You could weigh its loss like you drag your own feet. But pigeons sliced from so much, they must be God himself you cannot call wanting. Later, 3 days become 3 birds. You remember the under parts of their wings, soft like newborns. The second coming, All 10 minutes of gasping it. Next, wounds miraculously heal. Next, the dead with heads on ice start to speak. And you are ergo pardoned for having not murdered, who has been brought back to life, who was wounded only. And the revived heads will co host parties with the clones of the last dead members of each species who have inherited the traits that got them knocked off in the first place. Flightlessness, flying too much, being caught between excesses. But by then it is a kinder world. Each tree will be hung with peaches and every night of fresh chilling air. The streamers and cups will be picked up later. They'll send a shiver through you then, though you won't know why. I'll end with one quick poem called White Whales. Water can disguise itself, chapped lips, gnawed tundra, or the glass stomach of an abyssal fish with still burning mammoths inside it. In captivity, one auk liked to flaunt her swimming at the end of a rope. With winter's approach, white feathers bloomed at her neck. She slipped off. Soon rumors of a body limp ashore at Gurok. How to know except to cut her open, plumb the gut for hemp fiber and milk. Am I just another thief? Have I taken her blood for my blood instead of bleeding? A pet is a costume for a feeling, shifts according to need like water. Where anything is forgiven, there's no need for mercy. I can twist any crime into a fateful error till everything's a child's drawing. House, barn, horse, cross, terror. All right, thank you, everyone. On to our next reader. Very excited to introduce John Dos Passos Coggin, who is a writer from the Chesapeake Bay region with roots in Maryland and Virginia. He writes poetry, screenplays, and nonfiction. In addition to creative writing, he works in climate and clean energy communications. Welcome, John.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to read my poem from the collection Photograph of Two Men on Buffalo Skull Hill, 1892. So it's an ekphrastic poem that comments on this infamous photograph. Like farmers counting their first harvest won from the hardscrabble west, like homesteaders hammering the last nail of their prairie cabin before winter, these men glory in self-reliance, adjusting, readjusting their trophy stance, stepping onto a skull for stability. Atop their necropolis, they remember when the nation's fathers blew the bugle charging them west. Their 50 caliber rifle barrage from trains, from horseback, from prone position on a prairie dog mound. It snuffed out their directional hearing and broke their collarbones, but damn the stories. Saloons rolling with gawkers at the buffalo guns. From Shenandoah to the Pacific Ranges, the geyser of buffalo blood erupted higher than any Texas oil gusher. The prairie, once a caravan of mothers, calves, and bulls thundering, bellowing for their territory, now steeped in pools of red silence. Then another harvest of skeletons. $10 for 1 ton of dried bones, the fuel for sugar and fertilizer factories. Children picking light bones for pennies. After their kings of Michigan and gods of capital, these men will see Lakota hauntings. Bedridden, sucking bootleg whiskey through a hose, they'll fight off the ghost of a wolf that died of hunger. Searching for buffalo, the wolf found a fawn skeleton picked clean by turkey vultures. Now, though, in the camera flash, they feel a soul stronger than the buffaloes. They take a knee before the halo of manifest destiny. Thank you.
All right. Now, are you going to read another poem? I want to hear one more. Or are you sticking to that one, that beautiful piece from the anthology?
That's all for tonight. Thank you.
All right. Well, you all, there's more information about John's work in the chat. Definitely check it out. That ending just lands every time. Thank you. All right. Chad Knuth, welcome, is a poet and arts organizer. He currently serves as the VP of Programming for the North Carolina Poetry Society and as a Poets Council member for the town of Carrboro, North Carolina. His work has been anthologized in Cackalack from Moonshine Review Press and is featured in Ponder Review, The Crawfish, and Digest Magazine, amongst others. He's an MFA candidate at UNC Greensboro. Oh, congratulations. And is the managing editor at the Greensboro Review. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you so much, Erin. It's a privilege to be here, and thank you, Erin, for the reading and for John for the reading. I'll start with my poem from the anthology, but before I do so, I'd really like to introduce this poem with a haiku at readings. The smell of timber brings me back to summer swords, days I was a boy. The smell of timber brings me back to summer swords, days I was a boy. This poem is called Southern Pine. 1. Here the timber trucks are daily. You can hear their engines hauling timber from around the wooded bend across the bridge along the byway. 2. The timber cut and cleared of branches severed from its roots still resembles pine trees. 3. Each day the timber comes and goes through fast hands in lumber mills, sawing through ancestral sap, stacking history neat and naked. 4. Still, the timber has its story. It remains in bark now sheared away, remains in grain now sanded down, remains in stumps now ground to mulch. 5. The timber shares its story when it creaks in the floorboards of our houses, below the rumble of the trucks and the kicking of our heels. I'll read another one for you tonight. This one's called When Driving My Grandfather Home. I follow his hands guiding polished metal toward its red plastic home, watch them fumble and miss their mark over and over and over again, study the set of his jaw while his hands wrestle with light work, hands that have known a horse's reins and the skin of a summer's crop. Hands that once heaved hay bale and milk churn onto the bed of another's truck, now curled in stubborn frustration, refusing to ask for help. Arriving at the stoplight, I reach over from the driver's seat, place my right hand on his, buckle him into place, his thin skin folding under the weight of my own. This silent act, renewing our unspoken promise, that I will take him where he wants to go, that I will help along the way. Let the hands that toiled rest, remind them they are loved. Thank you, everyone.
Gorgeous, Chad. Thank you. And very touching, as someone said in the chat. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Now we welcome Kyle. Kyle Potvin's full-length poetry collection is Lucen. Her chapbook, Sound Travels on Water, won the Jean Pedrick Chapbook Award, and she won the Patricia Eschen Prize for Poetry in 2024, the Sonnet Award. Very impressive for all of us who dare not write a sonnet. Kyle's poems have appeared in Bellevue Literary Review, Tar River Poetry, First Daily, and the New York Times. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks so much, Erin, and thanks for having us today. And so great to be here with all of you. There's just so many amazing poems in this anthology, and I just loved reading through all of them. And I wanted to start today with another poet's work, and this is Rebecca Hart Ollander's Telling the Bees. And Becky's here with her mom, even. Telling the Bees. The queen has died. The royal beekeeper has visited the bees and put them into mourning. I want to knock on a hive, tell the bees my mother's heart needed repair. She is my monarch. I got lost in Mount Auburn Cemetery, trying to pass the hours of her surgery. Followed the elder path as if it led to my ancestors. On another avenue, under a thick-limbed willow, I tried to understand the carved letters. What they said, how people could have taken knives to bark and dug in, adding their names as if the trunks were theirs. I will apologize to the trees. I too am a keeper, have counted on nectar, expected continuous honey. I will tell the bees I am sorry. We don't protect them as they protect their queen. I will apologize to my mother for not loving our mother as well as I should. I will do as I'm told. I will lean into the end of summer goldenrod and listen. So that was Rebecca Hart Ollander's lovely poem that's in the anthology. And I'll follow it with mine. And of course, I didn't even realize this when I was reading Rebecca's poem, but this also mentions bees. This is called This Is Serious. And it has an epigraph from the Harvard Business Review. There was a interview with Jerry Seinfeld. And so the writer, the interviewer, Dan McGinn said, "Can you teach somebody to be funny?" And Jerry Seinfeld said, "Nope. This is serious. Why are you laughing? A bumblebee is giving birth to the last of the species. Sumac is raging against the aging oaks. Or are they maples? The world is limping by, river in, out, when I least expect it. I consume, use, eat, burrata, ripe tomatoes, salt, a swirl of fruity olive oil. Why does fruity autocorrect to guilty? Human, I laugh too easily. Am I funny? The nuns from my childhood would say no. That girl never smiled. And I promise this will be the last mention of bees. How to be fearless. I wandered into a crowded wood of bees with poison stingers sharper than life, then swallowed seeds that strangled the breath in my rasping throat. Each time I thought I would die, so I lived. I was young, kept stepping off the ledge into clouds heavy with possibility. I no longer thought to ask if God would catch me. And I'll finish with a sonnet. It's called After the Biopsy. The waves push foamy patterns to the shore. What do you see? A coral branch, a tree sun-blanched, long fingers painted by the sea, or a lesion on a neck that's stitched and sore. I've seen what lurks inside, a dark and restless spread of errant cells, a basal fleck, a mass of algae flowing breast to neck. Ignore that now. Just wait for next week's test. If only salty suds could cleanse this spot in every place a future knife will slice. This iridescent wash of waves, once, twice, lost fragile bubbles from the sand. When caught, they disappear. I've been here once before, a woman pleading, body, I want more. Thank you.
Kyle, you know how to write an ending. It just absolutely lands. And very hard, as I said, to write a sonnet that sounds so effortless at the same time. So that's very beautiful. Thank you. All right, on to Catherine Puma, who is a queer writer based in Virginia and works as a government consultant for ocean science. A member of the Arlington Writers Group and Women's Aquatic Network, she's been published in Ionosphere, The Blotter Magazine, Seven Seas Media, and elsewhere. Her haiku won honorable mention in the 2025 Poetry Society of Virginia's annual adult contest. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining. Thank you, Erin, for hosting, and the other poets for their contributions as well. All of the poems that I've chosen to be read tonight are also published in the online gallery for the Nature of Our Times project. So I thought they kind of all fit well together. Thank you, Eileen, for putting links into the chat. I thought I'd start out for you all with the poem that is included in the print anthology that we're celebrating tonight. So my poem in that anthology is titled Leaves on the Tree. And these days it tends to make me think of Dr. Jane Goodall sometimes. Leaves on the Tree. I gaze into monkey eyes, they gaze back. Their reflecting surfaces, deep pools of experience and thought, knowledge, memories of predator calls and ripe fruit and swiped snacks from temple tourists. I am in her eyes, she is in mine. She does more with less. A leaf is an umbrella, is a cup. As seasons cycle, I crouch in the same tree as she, on a separate branch of the same limb, yet still in view. Our young go forth on new shoots. My branch is not special just because it is mine, and I can see all the roots that came before. The second of three poems that I'm reading tonight is called Mother. And the seed for this poem hit me while on one of the many walks that I've taken through the Huntley Meadows Park here in Fairfax County, Virginia. One of my favorite local parks to visit for sure. My dogs would agree. Uh, just a few minutes in, walking into the park in the middle of metro, like urban area, the car traffic falls away and the swaying trees with their shaking leaves can find us. So I love it. Mother. When the summer melts itself into cool autumn, you will find me in the wood, wrinkled from growth, scarred by storms, gnarled with age, hearts tattooed into me by lovers. I have stretched tall, my reach clearing a path to the sky. Leaves veined with the sugars I've made, they fall so the sun warms you, and the sweet rain flushes you to life. I stoop and blanket you with all that I have, for I am all that I can give you. So siphon nutrients from my roots as long as I stand beside you, and when I am too heavy with snow and crack and fall, The lichen and fungi will turn me back to earth, where I will continue feeding you for as long as I last. Remember me and all that I've done for you when someday you gaze down at your own little sprout, looking to you for everything. Thank you. And the last poem I'll read tonight is called Tokatai, which was previously published by Lit Shark magazine and chosen for their Best of 2024 anthology as well. As a reminder, the news was a while ago. The subject of the poem, Tokatai, was an orca taken from her family as a baby and kept at the Miami Seaquarium until she died. While getting my master's degree from the University of Miami, I attended their marine campus right next door to the Seaquarium. So I would see Tokatai's enclosure every day as I walked to lectures and the laboratory buildings. This poem that I wrote after she passed away is close to my heart, just one of the poems that I had to write. I'm sure the other poets know. Tokatai, come home, where your mother waits for you in the Salish Sea. Stolen baby, kept in captivity, half a century in a tank, more shallow than you are long, the smallest cage for your kind. You child performer, you profitable commodity, we whistle and yell, splash for us, beg for your food. Come home, for death has finally freed you. The red tape fell away when your life ended. We cut you open, you blackfish, dissecting our fellow mammal. The necropsy says renal failure. It is cheaper to transport a dead whale than a live one. Your remains cremated and ashes returned to the Lumi nation, your kin on land. 3 decades of advocacy at an end. Come home, where your family gathers on your day of death. You belong in the deep seas of ancestry, where your lineage still sings the lullabies from your infancy. May your spirit follow the currents and sink into fathoms of early memory, when you rolled and played in the wild, where the Chinook leapt in the cold sea spray. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Catherine. And I probably don't just speak for myself when I say, like, you hear the story of Tukhatai, and I think, more than one poet has tried to write about that and will continue to try to write about that. So it's beautiful to hear. And the lovely repetition in that poem, it will stick with me. All right, I'm going to take a moment to just acknowledge that the anthology was edited by Luisa y Gloria, Eileen Casinedo, and David Hassler. And Eileen, thank you for helping us organize today. And Luisa, thank you for being here. Just wanted to acknowledge all the incredible work you all did on this. All right. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to introduce Philip Metras, who has written 13 books, including Dispatches from the Land of Erasure. This is a book that came out this year, and Fugitive/Refuge from last year, 2024. Winner of 3 Arab American Book Awards, a Guggenheim, and a Pushcart Prize. Philip is professor of English and director of the Peace, Justice, and Human Rights program at John Carroll University and teaches at the Low Res VC FA MFA program. Philip, welcome.
Thank you so much, Erin. I thought it might be fun just to go through the chat and sort of read the Insta poem that people were commenting on, the beautiful lines that people have shared already. So here are our poems back to us. Sleep without the sun's assistance. The sea is a sheet of glass that breaks, snags a piece of the tastiest, slammed the sun shut. A life that's 10 minutes long feels as long as any. Stepping onto a skull for stability. Kings of Michigan and gods of capital, they take a knee before the halo of manifest destiny. Then another harvest of skeletons. Sawing through ancestral sap, the timber has its story. His hands wrestle with light work. I will take him where he wants to go. She is my monarch. Expected continuous honey. I will apologize to my mother for not loving our mother as much as we should. Sumac is raging. The world is limping by. Why does fruity autocorrect to guilty? I am in her eyes, and she is in mine. I can see all the roots that came before, leaves veined with the sugars I've made. Come home, come home. I'd like to read Martha Solano's poem. Um, it's called Nature Never Needs Recharging. Martha passed away earlier this year. The title has a comma, so it's also the first line. It tells you right away. And I love that comma because I think in an age of climate collapse and climate change, we need to remember how nature's persistence endures in all sorts of ways. So nature never needs recharging. Its network never goes down, including here at Big Rock Elementary, where I tell my students we're putting on our coats, going outside in search of images. Past the manicured playground, past the bleachers, toward and beyond the fence, Cody running past me, yelling, "Slug eggs!" I point to trees and flowers and birds, say their names. Red alder, licorice fern, Douglas fir. Together we listen to the okaree of the red-winged blackbird, the raspy call of a red tail soaring overhead. Together we touch the bark of a hawthorn tree, admire the fat buds of a big leaf maple. I tell each child to choose an artifact, bring it to their desks. Back inside, Carmen keeps asking, "What's this called?" "It's blackberry," I say. Smiling, she twirls it, sniffs. An ant hitched a ride on Simon's pine cone. Tyler wants to know how to tell an eagle from an osprey. Peyton asks if it's okay he chose a dead leaf. The room is alive with rocks and twigs. The poems they write are crawling with spiders, wiry with like lichen, swaying with catkins, quiet like clumps of moss. Nature has no username or password. Its signal is always strong. Just stand in a field. Let your shoes get wet in knee-deep grass. So that's Martha Solano. My contribution to the anthology is a poem that came out of something that I had often told myself, which is don't describe the sky as azure because it's kind of cliche. And then what I decided to do in that moment of sudden unknowing and curiosity, I wondered where azure comes from. And of course, it comes from this incredible word, lajward, from the Persian, which we actually, if you know Spanish, know azul, is very proximate to that. And so I started thinking about the stone of Lushward. So never describe the sky as azure is both the title and like a first line. Never describe the sky as azure unless it's made of stone. Lajward, migrating from Persia, smuggled from Farsi to Arabic and thrown like a wingless bird across the sky-dark sea until its version spills from English mouths. Lapis lazuli. O trap of beauty, you are a fiction. Exhausted at day's end of an oven summer, I duck out of the house into the truth of twilight blue. No other name than azure, azure, and no other home the color of this sky struck above this earth. No path to heaven except through this dirt. And I suppose I'd just like to read one more poem for you. This is called First Snowfall. And this was a poem that was inspired by an exercise that my colleague Betsy Shaw offered, which was to write a poem based on some colors from a paint strip. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to write anything good about this, but this is the poem that came out, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I hope you are too. It's called First Snowfall. I don't know about you, but we've been having like constant snows here in Cleveland, and it's been a little bit of a drag so early so constantly in December. So anyway, if you're experiencing something sad like me, seasonal affective depression, um, get outside and move around as much as you can. So this is called First Snowfall. First Snowfall. Too soon. And too soon for this old ache of longing and hunger and ruin that is this flesh, the eye wanting to hold out a little longer in silver mist and new heather. As evening falls and fells each day, it blues the snows, alloys twilight mineral brush gray, navy. Before the final day dissolves, I want at last to be touched and to touch you with last light blue, and in the river of never blur into the color beneath all colors. Thanks, everyone. And thanks again to the editors of the anthology. This is heroic work to bring us together. Appreciate it. And thanks, Erin, for your organizing tonight.
Thank you, Philip. Wow. This has just been incredible to hear all your works from and to hear the threads going throughout, Kyle with the bees and Philip with the colors and I mean just and that chat cento as I think someone in the chat put it, that I mean that was gorgeous. We all should write more poems together. So that was just a perfect way to end things. So Louisa, Eileen, thanks again. And thanks to each of our readers for coming and to our audience for being here. We appreciate your support of the anthology and keep reading all these wonderful poems. It really just has, it never stops giving every time I open a page of this book. So thank you all and have a good night.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Have a good night. Good to meet you
Thank
all.
you.
Good to meet
you,
everyone.
everybody. Have a
Thank you
great
so
night.
much.
Thank you.
Great to see you
Lovely,
all.
lovely hour. Thank you.
Great pleasure.
Thank you. Beautiful work. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Los.
you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Peace.
Ruby.